friends, it's Allison. Welcome back to my channel. Today we have a really fun video because there is a brand new product line at Simon Says Stamp. Now, Simon generously sent me this new product line, which is called Rainbow Splash. And this is a very approachable new set of products. If you're new to card making, you're going to love this. Now, having said that, I am not new to card making and I love everything about this product line. So it's really for everyone. So we are going to start out with the ink pads. And of course I picked some standard rainbow colors to start with, but there's more. There are actually 16 ink pads that are part of this new product line. And you can see all the bright, happy colors. Now there are some neutral colors that I'll show in a second here. There's buttercream, gravel, and caramel, and another pink. But the colors are gorgeous, and what I love about these pads is you'll see there's little labels on the side. So if you organize yours in, holders, then you can see the names of them, which is great. If you were wondering, yes, there are reinkers for these inks. So here I just have gravel as an example. And if you're familiar with Simon, you might be asking, well, how do these compare to the positively saturated inks? Well, based on my expert opinion, they look the same to me. They're both foam pads. And if you're, again, familiar with the positively saturated, they are really juicy foam pads. You can see they look the same to me. Same size, everything. The description on the back of the ink pads is the same. So I don't work for Simon. I'm guessing maybe these are just new colors that aren't in the other line. But now we're going to move on to paper. So there are some individual packs of some of the neutrals, which you see right here. And this paper is, I believe it's 80-pound paper. And in addition to these neutrals, there is a rainbow pack, of course. So I'm going to open that up and show you. Now there are 13 colors in this rainbow pack. And you might be wondering, well, you told us that there were 16 ink pads, but remember 3 of those were neutral colors, and those neutral colors were in their own little individual packs that I already showed you. Now, if you're wondering if they match the inks, I know that's important to some people. Here I've already made swatches, and I used this little stamp set that I'll be introducing in a second. And so I made my swatch. I used Jennifer McGuire's swatches. And look, the dandelion matches perfectly to the cardstock. And here's the pumpkin. So for those of you who really like to have your inks match your papers, then this is for you. And here's the lake, which is so pretty. All right, so another product is this little set of sponge applicators. This is new tool for Simon. And they're to me, they're great for pouncing. You may have seen some bigger pouncing tools on the market. I wouldn't ink blend with these. They are attached to this very firmly, but I really think they're going to be great for pouncing, and I will show you that later. All right, here's another new product, this pack of rainbow gems. These are self-adhesive. There are 8 colors and 232 gems in that little pack. All right, let's move on to stamps. There are 2 small sets of basic sentiments. Then there's these 2 slightly larger sets that have images and sentiments. And the balloons, which is called Birthday Wishes, has its own matching die set. And then there's this bigger set. This is a great set for teachers or students. I love this set. I will have the names and links to all the products below. So if I'm not mentioning names of products in here, just look in the description below. Now this is the Schoolhouse Messages set. And again, this also has a matching die set, which is great. All right, so finally, there are 5 embossing folders. There are 2 floral, and I'm showing you each one of these that already has paper in them because I'm about to emboss them. And so 2 florals, and then there's 3 kind of basic shapes that I think are pretty important to have in your stash. There's stars, diamonds, and hearts. Now for those 3 basics, I used the white paper that I had showed you before. That's part of the collection. And I'm just going to show you just simple embossing. I have the universal plate system for my Spellbinders machine, so I'm just following the instructions for a simple embossing folder sandwich. And this is one of the florals. Now the paper in here is actually, I think I had used some thicker paper because I plan on doing a watercolor technique on this particular one. But I will show you all the panels embossed in a second. So here is what this panel looks like, and this is the tiny florals embossing folder. And look at the pretty result. Now that's the embossed side, and then if you turn it over, you can use the debossed side as well. Both are really pretty. So here are the results after I emboss them all. So that's the other floral one. And again, those 2 I embossed with some thicker paper. I think I used Bristol Smooth. And here's the hearts and stars, which I think are just really kind of essential. And there's the diamond pattern. So let's start playing. I'm going to take some of these inks and I'm going to see how they blend. And I'm using the piece of paper that I had embossed with the cascading hearts. And again, these pads are really juicy, so when I ink it up with my blending tool, I kind of pounce some of it off. And I'm using my mini water media mat from Waffle Flower to do my blending. And I just wanted to show you, you can use 3 colors to make a rainbow. I mean, I know there were all colors of the rainbow in this ink pad collection, but I'm just going to show you how you can just use, well, it's not red, I'm using pink, but red, yellow, and blue will make a beautiful rainbow. Now, this is the 80-pound paper. I don't normally blend on 80-pound paper, but these pads are so juicy that they blended, they made a beautiful blend on this paper. So here I'm coming in with the pink. And I do clean off my media mat in between colors just so I'm not mixing too much colors with each other. I just want to mix them on the paper. I don't want to pick up pink ink on my yellow brush, off the mat. So here you see me cleaning it before I pick up more yellow. So again, just super simple blending here. And there we are, we're done, and I'm going to make a super simple card with this, and I'll show you that in a second. So here it is. I just made a flat shaker, and this is just about the easiest card you can make. If you've never made a flat shaker, I will include a link below to a video where I show you how to make one. So my focus of this is really to introduce the products. I will be making cards, but they're really simple, approachable cards. All right, so we ink blended. You saw that I had stamped with the ink when I made that ink swatch, when I was showing you how the inks compare to the paper. Now we're going to watercolor. This is the Folk Flower stencil. I'm sorry, the Folk Flower embossing folder. You had seen that I had embossed that before. This is Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is, you can use watercolor paper, but I actually like doing simple watercoloring on Bristol Smooth. And all I did was I just smushed my ink pad onto my acrylic block and sprayed some water on it. You'll see me do that in a second. Here are the colors that I used, and really just doing simple coloring on this embossing folder. And so now I'm going to come in with some 2 more colors to color the leaves. So here you'll see what I do. I just press the ink onto the acrylic block. I'm going to spray it, and then I'm using just a very simple brush. I have one of those water brushes, but it's not filled with water. I'm using it kind of like you would just a regular paintbrush. So you don't have to have fancy tools. These are not fancy tools. And really, this took me like hardly any time at all. And I think it's fun to take an embossed image and paint it. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Remember, when you're making cards, it is handmade, and the recipients appreciate that. So I had picked 2 greens, and I'm coming in, I decided the 2 greens were a little too different. So now I'm coming in with that lime, that lighter color, and a lot of water, and I'm going over that darker green, and then I'm kind of mopping up the water. So it kind of removes some of the darker green and makes those 2 colors kind of closer together. I wanted this to be simple, but I also just want to show you that when you're watercoloring, use more water, and you can really fix things as you go along, if you will. All right, let's do some simple stamping. I have a mini Misty, and now normally in your mini Misty or your Misty, regular Misty or whatever, you have a pad of paper or you have this little mouse pad and you have to use a magnet. But what I've been using lately is my grip mat from Waffle Flower. This is the size that fits into the mini Misty. And the great thing is I can just throw little scraps of paper in here. And by the way, this is the Happy Blooms stamp set. I'm just pulling a sentiment from there. When you have a new stamp, make sure you rub it. You can see where I just rubbed. It's kind of dull. You want to just rub off the shiny surface. That's just part of the manufacturing process. Now I'm using my anti-static powder tool because I'm going to be embossing this. And so I'm going to be stamping with my Versamark ink. So anyway, I love being able to just throw a scrap of paper into my Misty now, and the Waffle Flower grip mat grips it. And, I don't have to worry about holding a little piece of paper with a magnet and having it shift around. So now I'm going to put some white embossing powder on here. And again, just super simple stamping. And I'm holding my paper with one of the fun little clothespins from Simon. And I have fussy cut out my sentiment. You obviously don't have to. You could just, trim it with your paper trimmer into a rectangle. But it's also easy to fussy cut it. And again, super simple card. I'm using my T-square ruler to make sure that's on there straight. And there's my card. So definitely try watercoloring your embossing folder panels. It's a lot of fun. Okay, what if you don't have a Misty? Well, that's okay. You can use an acrylic block. So same thing, I used an anti-static powder tool. And this is a balloon from the Birthday Wishes stamp set. And I just put it on my acrylic block, and you just stamp. And everything after that is the same. Just put embossing powder on there and heat emboss it as you normally would. Now, these balloons I stamped on that colored paper from that rainbow paper pack, and you'll see I'm going to create a card base now. I'm going to use one of those little sponge applicators, and I'm going to remember I had said this would be great for pouncing. I embossed this blue piece of paper with the Twinkling Stars embossing folder, and now I'm just going to pounce some white pigment ink on there to create the illusion of clouds. Now I know we all have, well, many of us have stencils that create clouds, but if you're a beginner or sometimes it's hard to stencil on an embossed panel, this is a great option. Just take one of these tools and make your own clouds. It's super easy. So I'm just going to continue doing that all over the panel. And again, these new sponge applicators are just perfect for pouncing. And I love the size of them because, it just enables you to pounce in smaller areas if you need to. All right, before I pounce onto my black craft mat, I'm just going to put a white piece of paper in that corner. Not that my poor black craft mat hasn't suffered enough abuse, but... All right, so now that I'm almost done with this, again, I'm going to make a super simple card with this. I'm going to use the balloons from that birthday wishes set, and each balloon was stamped on a different color of paper from that rainbow pack. And the happy birthday stamp is from the bold messages stamp set. And again, I fussy cut it. And you'll see I added string. I just think it's fun to add little handmade elements to your cards. So again, super simple. Now let's use these fun gem stickers. So I have stamped the little paint palette from the Schoolhouse Messages set, and I noticed there were spaces for 8 colors, and guess what? There are 8 colors of gems. So I thought that was too perfect. So I picked out some complementary colors of markers. These are my Zig clean color brush markers, and I had stamped this little palette onto Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is what I use with my Zigs. Now I had forgotten my turquoise, which is weird because my favorite color is turquoise, but thankfully I remembered as I was coloring and I left the space open for that turquoise. So I'm going to use my craft pick to pick up these little gems, and remember these are self-adhesive, so there is adhesive on the bottom and you want to make sure you don't pull the gem away from that adhesive. And I'm just going to gently place the jewels in the little paint palette spots. And I found that there was enough space for 5 of these little gems in each color. And I think I did a pretty good job picking matching colors for the gems with my markers. I think I accidentally said complementary colors before. I think the only color that was a little off was the purple, but I don't think you really noticed too much. And here I am just finishing up with the reds. And now this little paint palette is done. How cute is that? All right, to make my card, I took a piece of gravel cardstock and I cut it down and I mounted it onto a white panel that I had embossed with the Cascading Hearts embossing folder. And then I just painted that little brush with my zigs. The sentiment is from the Bold Messages stamp set. I just stamped that on the gravel cardstock with black pigment ink. And there you go. Another simple card. An even more simple card. For this card, again, I used the gems and I used the diamond pattern embossing folder, and I just placed the gems within the pattern, and it couldn't have been easier. I embossed the sentiment onto matte gold cardstock, and yes, you can emboss on metallic cardstock. This is from the Everyday Greetings stamp set. And finally, this is my final card. Now I used the Schoolhouse Messages set. I am planning on having a separate video. I love this sweet card. I think it's really cute. So look for another video from me in the next day or so, and I will show you how I made this. That is it for me today, and I hope that you're all excited about this new product line. I think it's really exciting, and I don't know if there's going to be more stuff added in the future, but we will see. Now, remember those gems. I am going to have a giveaway. Now, this giveaway is not sponsored by Simon. It's not sponsored by YouTube. Nobody but me. I'm just going to give away 6 sets of those gems. And I'm probably going to give them away on both my blog and YouTube. So I'm going to have a description of the giveaway and how to enter in the description below. And again, links to all these products will be below as well. So there you have it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.